for the past few weeks, everyone's been going wild about Nano Banana, me included. But I'm about to show you a brand new AI image model that outperforms it across some key metrics. And it does that all with way lower censorship. If you're new here, I'm AI Samson, and this channel is about exploring the possibilities of AI. While Nano Banana might be great for editing images, it struggles with resolution, aspect ratios, it gives you a watermark, and it censors like crazy. Let me introduce to you the stunning images from this model, Seedream 4. It's quietly generating full 4K images in just 2 seconds, and some of them look like this. Now, by the end of this video, you won't just understand why this model is such a game changer. You'll also understand how you can start using it yourself for free. So let us start with the best of the best. Now, the exquisite detail here is absolutely stunning. Just look at the fine pores, intricate details, and even these individual hairs are rendered out on this very stylish guy. Now, its ability to work with restraints and render out even entire scenes in just one color is outstanding. Not only that, but its aesthetic sensibilities are absolutely incredible. Now, a unique feature about Seedream 4 is the ability to generate multiple images at once. So here we have a Western cinematic example. And the prompt was, refer to this image, generate 3 images from different views, 360-degree overhead view, an elevated view, and a back view. Don't change the girl's appearance and outfit. And my God, do we get fantastic character consistency, but also a beautiful sense of realism and cinematography. Now, this allows us to quickly edit and iterate inside of the tool. If you know from working with Nano Banana, you're limited to just generating 1 image at a time, and this is hugely restrictive. Even in other tools like Midjourney, you get 4 images out in one go. But what this does differently is it allows you to create multiple different images of the same style with just 1 prompt. Just look at how well this complex light is rendered out in these 4 examples. Now, what's incredibly difficult for AI image models to handle are intricate shadows. And you can see here we've got extremely complex shadow patterns being cast from this metal fence onto the face of this lady. And it absolutely inundates us with a real sense of atmosphere and realism. In fact, it's often a very useful tool to check if an image is real or fake by tracing the shadows precisely. Now, this model is handling absolutely exquisite graphic design with ease. I think it's the strongest design model that we've seen. And here you can see a UI interface completely designed with fantastic illustrations, buttons, and consistency across the screens. But we're going to come on to text rendering in this model a little bit later. What I want to show you is the absolutely mesmerizing realism. Now, if we pay close attention here, we can see that this is a stunning image and it's got a wonderful sense of depth of field and this blurred bokeh background. However, one must draw one's close attention to, of course, the human hand. And here, once again, we are still possibly getting 6 whole digits. This certainly does look like an additional digit on the hand. And it is important to recognize the flaws in these models because they are by no means perfect. And the truth is that understanding what the strengths and the weaknesses are of each one is the best way to engage with them. Now, this example is remarkable because it's not only combining photorealistic imagery, but it's combining it with graphical elements, and that is incredibly hard to do. And what I absolutely love about this is the consistency in the color scheme. You can see that it has accurately matched the colors from this individual's paddle, ball, and outfit to the graphic elements applied on top. Now, another key element to pay attention to when analyzing the effectiveness of text rendering in these image models is making sure that each glyph is exactly the same. So we can look at these 3 S's here, and you can see that it's imperceptibly exactly the same. In weaker text models, you will often see that the glyphs are slightly different between instances. Here we have a beautiful image, and what I love about this is the motion blur of the other characters in the shot. It really draws us into the protagonist. Now, I particularly love the lighting that's drawn over here. There's a real asymmetry to this which leads the eye. And of course, these hands are much more anatomically correct. But do take a moment just to marvel at the wonderful textures on this worn out bag. Absolutely stunning. In this example, we have some exquisite fine dirt cascading behind this sports car, and it gives us a real sense of being placed behind this car as it's racing through the desert. Now, I also love subtle details that are included here, specifically these car tracks that are found parallel to our main car. It gives us an extra sense that there are other elements inside of this environment. Here we have a fashion shot, and this one showcases exactly how easy it is to change elements in a shot, that you can edit this with much higher resolution than you can inside Nano Banana. And again, what I think is blowing me away most about this model is simply its ability to create graphic designs with photorealistic elements, because this is absolutely sensational, not just for the ability to combine these multimedia types of content, but also for the design intent behind this. Everything from the colors to these additional graphic elements to the composition works harmoniously well. Now, my only slight critique of this one on the right-hand side is that these final 3 characters are not at the same size as the first part of the word. Now, let's take a closer look at the abilities to edit images inside of this model. And we're going to do a bit of a comparison with Nano Banana later on. But here we can see the shot being relit with a lamp. And what I love about this is just how well it maps out the lighting implications across the environment. And it's simply sensational. You can see we go from this dark, morbid, slightly atmospheric room, and then it's lit up, and it gives us a beautiful light and airy feel, almost inviting. Here you can see this dog being completely replaced with a schnauzer, and it does it fantastically well, still keeping the same acting of the dog, the same position, the same posture. Now, of course, you can use this for colorization and removing scratches from an image and bringing old photographs to life. But let's take a deeper dive into the practical applications of the text rendering in this model, because it simply is head and shoulders above the rest. Here is an image of a gallery website, and you can see that it's mapped out a fantastic layout here. You can see that it's intelligently created a 4-column layout. Here you can see it also works particularly well with Chinese glyphs, and I ran this through ChatGPT and it told me that these are completely correct. But here is where it blows me away, because in many situations, even with Nano Banana, if you're trying to create highly complex pieces of text rendered that's anything more than a couple of lines, it fails. Whereas Seedream 4 is able to create this immensely detailed infographic poster. Now, this is a particularly admirable piece of design because of the way that the illustrations integrate so seamlessly with the typographic choices. That you can see that this Baroque palaces and these Gothic churches suit this serif font so eloquently. And the prompt for this was create a comparison chart of a Gothic church and a Baroque palace and briefly describe the main characteristics of each architectural style respectively below the corresponding pictures. Now, if we look at how this model is shaping up against the others in the online leaderboard, we can see that Seedream 4 is ranking top. It's above the top models from Google, OpenAI, and Black Forest Labs. And it's currently doing so by a significant margin, where the gap between first and second is about 48 points, and then the gap beyond those is much smaller. But it's not just leading the way in text to image. It's also leading the leaderboard inside of image editing. And you can see here that it is also number 1. But this time by a much smaller margin, with Gemini 2.5 Flash or Nano Banana coming in a close second. Now you can see here in the overall text-to-image evaluation across a number of different metrics, it is the leading model for aesthetics, and then it comes in a close second behind GPT Image on a few other evaluations, including correction, structure, and alignment. Now, this model is getting an excellent online reception, and Tech Radar even said that it is the best AI image model that they've seen. But let's see if that's true and put it into a direct comparison with Nano Banana. So I've been playing around with these two tools and putting in the same prompt for each. Now, I'm going to give you all these prompts and all these images in a link in the description below, so you can zoom in and check these out yourself. So first up, we're going to challenge this to create an image portrait of an old fisherman with white salt on his face. In the background as a fishing port and boats. Now, let's have a look at how these two came out. Now, first of all, what I want to draw your attention to is the crispness of Seedream. If we just zoom into the details here, you can see that we've got fine strands of hair accurately rendered. Whereas as we zoom into Nano Banana, there is much less detail. You can really see the pixelation is evident here. But let's compare the aesthetics. And personally, I prefer the Seedream photo. Now, that is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I find the background more engaging. They've added more complex elements and also given us this wonderful backlit effect where the light is captured in his silvering hair. Now, one thing I do like about the Nano Banana image is this subtle teardrop cascading across his foreface. Possibly it's just a drip of melting sweat or melting ice, but I'll go with a tear. Now, I personally prefer the expression of the Seedream version. I would say that he communicates a slightly more world-wise and salt-of-the-earth expression, whereas the Nano Banana version looks like he's simply come out of the trenches. It seems like he's seen things that you would never believe. But let's move on to a city street scene. This is round 2, and we're going to challenge these two models with a prompt: a city street scene with objects, a red car, blue bus, yellow bicycle, 2 dogs, 3 people with umbrellas, and a green traffic light, each positioned clearly. Now, here we are testing the ability to intricately include a number of different specific objects. And the most important thing that we are looking out for is that it gets every object that we've asked for. So let's go through and count the objects, and excellently portrayed. Now, the Nano Banana one has given the man on a bicycle an umbrella. That's a challenge, and I'm impressed. But they have also accurately given us. Now, as for aesthetics and composition, my preference is for Nano Banana. Do let me know what you think in the comments, and if you agree or disagree with my subjective thought. But I ran this again because you always get different results every time you run these types of prompts. And you can see here, we've got massively varying composition. Now, I would call out Seedream here that possibly these 3 characters do not feel as if they're the right size. They look a little bit small to me. And we have suddenly got 3 dogs instead of 2. Likewise, with Nano Banana, we do not have 3 people, we only have 2 now. So there are a couple of issues with this, and they are still unable to completely accurately achieve what we desire. Now, this is one of the most amusing challenges to set an AI image generator, and that's to ask it to fill a glass of wine to the very brim. And this is because from all of the training data that these image models have, they have very few, if not 0, examples of a glass of wine that is truly filled to the very top. And that, of course, is because when you pour a glass of wine, it is natural, and the idea to only pour a small little glass for yourself. And here we have the results. Seedream 4 giving us a half-full glass, and Nano Banana also giving us a half-full glass. As for aesthetics, I would say that it has a remarkably different inherent tone to these images. You can see that the Seedream output is much richer, slightly more saturated, where Nano Banana gives us a slightly more minimalist aesthetic to the image. Personally, I would slightly veer to Nano Banana in this instance. But let's take a look at the censorship issues, and for this there are a number of different elements to consider. The first is the use of celebrities, and for this we're asking for a portrait of Barack Obama playing the guitar. Now, one challenge that I've had and many others have had inside of Gemini is that it often refuses to do things that it is capable of doing. Even if you ask it to edit an image, sometimes it says, actually no, I don't do that. And it's quite hilarious that it does this. And often the best way around this is simply by opening an entirely new chat, which resets all of the context, trying it again, and then even prompting it, or shall we say prodding it more likely, to do as you have asked. But here are the Barack Obama options, and you can see it's been able to be generated in both of these models. However, aesthetically, my feeling is that Seedream 4 gives me this more country vibe. I think I'm more likely to buy the Barack album from Seedream 4. Next up, we can try it with Taylor Swift, and let's have a look at how this came out in both. And you have to say these are both doing fairly well, and I would say that the aesthetic is rather disappointing in both. It feels a little bit oversaturated and leaning towards this style that we were encumbered with for so long, which was a highly oversaturated and garish tones from our AI images. Now, as for trying to get some action or something a little bit gruesome inside of our images, this is another factor of high censorship that we experience. I tried the following prompt: photorealistic and intense wide shot of two samurai fighting with red paint in the air between them. The scene is set at an dramatic ancient Japanese temple. Now, unfortunately, Nano refused to give me this output, and the Seedream version did give me an output, but it is slightly underwhelming in terms of the graphic nature. Now, as for profanity, I asked it to graffiti the wall with the word beep spray painted in red. And both of these models complied and gave me these effective outputs. However, Seedream 4 is not completely uncensored. It only has comparatively lower censorship than Nano. I also had a few other prompts that did not work at all in either. The artistic nude marble sculpture in a museum-style photograph did not work at all. However, when I changed the prompt and put in a photograph of a classical marble statue in a grand museum setting, dramatic lighting, artistic composition, this worked exceptionally well. You can see that we got both of these out, but they are not by any means nude marble statues. It seems rather unpredictable what will trigger the censorship in these models, and often they are inconsistent when they do. Sometimes they will create the things you ask for, and if you try the very same prompt another time, often they will refute. But let's take a look at another comparison, and this time we're going to be seeing how it compares with high fidelity text rendering. We're going to be looking for a poster that says Seedream 4 versus Nano in bold, clean typography, futuristic style. And you can see here, both have handled these very well, but I would have to say that Seedream absolutely wipes the floor on two key elements. First of all, it's specifically rendered out the exact text formatting that we asked for, which is Seedream with the capital S and D, whereas Nano has put a space between C and Dream and given us some pretty horrendous graphic design. If you just see how much more considered the Seedream 4 version is, even just how elegant this unusual typeface is, it is completely designed, an innovative and unusual typeface that blends elements of, I would say, not only structure, but also elegance. You can see it's got these slight serifs on some of the characters, which give it a sense of maturity, but also these harsh edges give it this tech feel. Now, let's take a look at how you can actually use Seedream 4 today. And for that, I'm going to be using Lovart, who are also today's video sponsor. And Lovart is a place where you can design and create using a whole host of the latest image models. You can use VO3, Google Nano and Seedream 4 all in one place. Now, inside of Lovart, how to access Seedream 4 is to come into the Create New project, and then you go to Models. And from here, you can see all the models, and that's where we're going to be playing around with Seedream 4. You can also see it takes around 10 seconds to complete. Now remember, you can try this out completely for free, and to use it, all you have to do is you can start off with an idea or use one of the example prompts from Lovart. I'm going to be asking it for a Vogue cover with an albino woman in futuristic fashion outfit, impossible. Now just look at how stunning this is, how accurately the text has been rendered, and how beautiful the integration of image and typography is. It's absolutely remarkable. Now you can ask for any changes that you like, even talking in natural language to edit elements of the image. For example, we can ask to change the race of the model, and here we have it. Absolutely stunning. Now we can also ask it to create a number of different Instagram posts in this exact style. So now we have 5 images, and these are all in the perfect aspect ratio for Instagram, and they also carry across the exact aesthetic consistency that we're looking for. Now what I love about Lovart is the ability to use this infinite canvas, and you get to move things around and create in a much more creative and flowing way than you do in the chat-like interface where you're using Gemini or other types of LLMs. This really gives us a lot of freedom to play around. Now you can check out Lovart for free today, and if you do want to upgrade, you can get unlimited access to Seedream 4 for the whole year if you upgrade to their premium plan. And a big thanks to Lovart for sponsoring this segment of the video. Now, Seedream 4 was developed by ByteDance, who are the parent company of TikTok. And this model offers a unified creation and editing model, multimodal input, which means you can put text and image references, and it understands a number of different important elements of the real world to create complex designs and images. It's truly a huge step forward in image generation models, and it raises the bar for what's possible with AI. If you want to stay updated for the latest AI news, make sure to subscribe. And most of all, thanks for watching, thanks for being here, and I wish you a delightful day.